Hi, I'm Jerry Fletcher. I speak as the networking ninja, and I run a little company called Z-Axis Marketing. What we do is big-time marketing for the little guy. And what I mean by that is I teach folks how to use big company digital marketing techniques to build their businesses without spending a bundle or eating up all of their time, because I know that small businesses don't have a lot of time or a lot of money to spend on marketing, but they still have to get results. So here's my take on big time marketing for the little guy.
The statue of David is a sculpture by Michelangelo. It stands in a courtyard in Florence. David, of course, was a little guy. He was a strong young man who knew his capabilities and those of his weapon. A rock and a sling made him king. But you know, anyone can learn to use a sling. And today, the digital equivalent of that sling is integrated digital marketing. I decided that one of the things that I wanted to do with my business was to develop an edge for the little guy. So I decided that we had to work with facts, not suppositions, facts. We had to know what worked and what didn't. We needed to understand buyer actions, what they were doing, how they were doing it, when they were doing it, why they were doing it, so that we could find out when and how and why they were going to buy. We had to understand buyer preferences. What did they like about our product versus somebody else's? Why did they like this service instead of that service? Buyer preferences. More importantly than anything else, we needed to find a way to understand their behaviors. Why did they do what they did? And sometimes the answer to that is not what they tell you, but rather by watching just what they do. The thing that I found that most companies need is expert advice on content. If you're going to do automated marketing or automagic marketing, any of these kinds of things that take the digital world and bring it into the world of sales, you need to understand what kind of information those folks are looking for, and you need expert advice on developing that content. You need to have a selective, integrated approach. Selective means the ability to select the audiences you're going to and to be able to reach them on a regular basis. Integrated means integrated with everything else you're doing. Digital marketing does not operate in a vacuum. It is part of everything that you do, and that includes all your traditional marketing activities. The fact is, you need to be able to do it yourself. It's not easy, and sometimes you do have to hire some people to help you. But the more you know about how to do it, the better off you're going to be. So let's talk about where and how these things play out. Most people keep telling you, you got to be mobile, everything's got to be mobile, everything's got to be responsive design, etc., etc., etc. Well, it's just like a whole lot of those other bright, shiny objects. Here's the reality. 46% of the population in the United States owns a mobile phone. 44% of those are smartphones, okay? But 68% of the people own a laptop or a netbook. Tablets, only 20%. But get this, high-definition TVs, just about half of the people in the United States own one. We know where their priorities are, and they aren't in getting computers. Now, what about the traffic that goes across those devices? The traditional devices, including the TV, 73% of the traffic goes through there. Tablets, only 12%. Smartphones, about 15%. Now, I grant you that the smartphone is getting more and more activity every day. The younger generations tend to like it a lot more than some of the other possibilities that are out there for them. But this is what the reality is at this time. Now, this may have changed by the time you're looking at this video. You need to look at what's really going on in order to be sure of how to approach things. Here's another way to look at that. This is the usage of smartphones in the purchase journey. The dark blue is women, I believe. Yes, that's women, okay, at the beginning of shopping for something, okay. The light blue is men at the beginning of shopping for something. They're looking for inspiration or ideas. Notice how it varies by the age of the person. Look at this graph carefully, because all it really says is that men and women of different ages think differently about how they approach the shopping experience. Here's another one you need to take a look at. Online networking secrets. People spend more time on visual networks than any other kind. We are a visually oriented culture. About 60% of the individuals in our culture are visually oriented. That's why the visually oriented social media platforms have become so powerful. Given what we know about TV viewing, it would rank just slightly above the social media platforms we see here. That's something to think about. Here's another one. The confidence gap. These are the effectiveness ratings of social media platforms based on what business-to-business users say. In other words, people that sell from business to business. Notice that LinkedIn is far and away the most effective in their view. So, if you are a business-to-business kind of organization, then you might really look hard at LinkedIn as the place to go. Here are some online networking secrets that you can use. For starters, even when people search for a company, they want to talk to an individual. So do you. Think about it. You'd rather talk to someone than look at a website or look at a video. One of the things you can do to make sure that you're seen and acknowledged and can get on well is to update your profile and be sure to add a current photo. Now, I can tell you right now that I connect with just about anyone, but if they don't have a photo, I won't do it. I want to see who I'm going to be talking to. I can get a whole lot more interested in someone when I can see a picture of them, because I want to engage. I don't want to just be there. That's the secret for online networking. Engage. Get involved. Talk to people. Be specific. Tell them what you're looking for. Ask the questions that will help you. Answer the questions that they have as specifically as you possibly can. Get involved in groups. I mentioned LinkedIn before. LinkedIn has the ability for you to get involved, I believe, in 25 or 30 groups. That's a lot. But if you do, get involved. Actually pay attention to what's going on there. Now, they'll make it easy for you. They'll give you a digest or a summary of what's going on in each one of the groups you're involved with, either on a daily or a weekly basis. Now, that's kind of handy. Once you're involved with someone or an activity that's going on in those groups, sometimes it's a good idea to take it offline. Once you connect with someone and you've established a good relationship, and you want to get involved in terms of possibly pursuing them for business or vice versa, take it offline. Get out of that social media situation and start talking to each other via email or on the phone or whatever. Personalize it even more. Think about your website as a lead generation device. Here's what I mean. Make connecting easy. For starters, make sure you include your phone number on the home page at least. Too often I see websites where the only way to connect to someone is via email on a contact page. Now, you'll make more sales and sign up more clients more quickly if you make it easy to connect with you. Position yourself. Let people know what you do in a memorable way, quickly. You'll want to position yourself. Maximize your organic SEO. I discovered after doing some keyword searches that the way to identify myself with my ideal prospects is to incorporate the words consultant marketing,
consulting marketing, or marketing for consultants throughout my website. Speak direct to the prospect. I include a full panel here on my home page. What it says in part is, you're one of the best at what you do. But not enough people know that. You're looking for a way to build referrals and operating on a tight budget. You don't have a lot of time to put into your marketing. You know that to be successful, you have to be remembered. You know that you need consultant marketing and a brand, but you're not quite sure how to develop them. Let others speak for you. The 3 photos here are current and former clients. Their description of products and services put things in prospect language. A little further down the home page is a string of testimonial quotes with some of the same photos. Offer non-threatening further contact. The jump buttons here connect you to full pages of information. On each page, you'll find comments and videos with information like this one that you can put to use today. Explain what you do in terms they can understand. Make it simple, direct, and get your point across. Make it easy to get all your other offerings. Make sure your website works on smartphones. Not every WordPress theme does this automatically. Most of the do-it-yourself site builders now include this capability, but make sure the one you tend to use does it before you buy. Think like a prospect. Include what they want to know, not what you want to tell them. Limit the action options. It is a real trial to fill out a long form on a telephone. Make it simple. Leverage your sales force. They can help you to make sure that you're using the right lingo and the right graphics. Build into the site some of the information they can give you about the objections that people raise and how they overcome them. You never know where that customer is on their journey.
Here are 3 rules to change how you get from contacts to contracts. And I'm going to include some facts that will help you along the way. Number 1, go where the money is. In most cases, I don't have to tell people this, but every once in a while, you will find someone who is trying to sell something, provide a product or a service, and there's nobody that can pay for it. Go where the money is. 70% of buyers view 4 or more pieces of content when making a considered purchase. So in other words, the higher the level of the purchase, the more pricey it is, the more you've got to provide good information, and lots of it, in order to keep their attention and get that possible sale. Second, sell what they want to buy. 71% of buyers trust brands that provide useful information without trying to sell something. In other words, give me the information that I want, don't tell me why your product's best for me. You have to understand that it's easier to sell something if they want to buy it. Third, do it again. 67% more leads are generated by business-to-business companies that create content. Number 1, go where the money is. 2, sell what they want to buy. And 3, do it again. How about generating referrals? Some quick tips for that. First, define your ideal client. Do you really know who your ideal client is? Can you tell me so that I could explain that to someone else? Or better still, if I ran into a person that you described that fit that description, would I remember to send them to you? Define your ideal client. Find their groups. Funny enough, we tend to hang out with people that are like us. You can bet that your ideal client knows other people that are in the same situation they are, do the same thing that they do, etc. Industry groups are not uncommon. Then identify the key referral sources. Who are the people that work with those groups or with those individuals that refer information to them, that could tell them about you? Is there someone out there that really deals with that individual or group that you would like to make contact with? It's worth taking the time to figure that one out, because once you do, you can build a relationship with them and they'll lead you to your ideal contacts. But the single most important thing you can do in that situation is to practice relational networking. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that you try to provide assistance and leads to everyone that you work with in terms of networking. You're not out to have a quid pro quo. You're not looking for transaction with every person. You're doing what some people call paying it forward. If you practice relational networking, your results will always be better than those people that try the traditional route. You want to use some sort of contact management software. If you don't have the memory capacity to do it. Now, I can say that pretty easily because the memory capacity to do what a simple contact management software does is perhaps 1 in several million people. And you don't want your brain cluttered up with all that stuff anyway. So use contact management software that allows you to get to the information you need on anyone you know and get it quickly, wherever you may be. You want to have conversations, not commercials. This is at the heart of 30-second marketing. When someone comes up to you and says, "What do?" you want to answer them in such a way that you maintain their curiosity and their interest. And you want to respond to that interest with things that keep them in the conversation. But even more importantly, you want to be able to say, "What do?" to them. Listen, get the information you need, and make it possible for you to practice relational networking. You might ask them, if they could tell you exactly what their ideal client looks like, because you're going to help find some of them for them. You'd be amazed what having a conversation instead of doing a commercial can do for you. You have to provide information that's useful. I know I've said this before, but in today's world, having content, information that people can use is incredibly important to engaging and carrying forward to get the sale. What I call contact relationship magic is what happens when you put it all together. When you take all these things and you work your way toward a positive situation with people. For starters, you need to know your vision, your mission, your position, and your value proposition. Now that sounds like a lot, but it isn't. You already know these things. It's just that you probably haven't codified them. You haven't written them down and shared them with everyone in the organization. That's something you need to do. You may need assistance in getting to something that's very short, sweet, and to the point, but once you have it, it's a very powerful way to run any organization. You need to establish and maintain a unique persona to build a brand. A brand is not a logo. It is not something that you decide. A brand is the perception of all the people that know anything at all about you or your company or your product or your service. It's their perception that forms the brand, not what you'd like them to have. But you must find a way to make sure that there's a shorthand for them to begin to identify you with. That in part is your logo, but even more importantly, it's your persona. It's those things that people believe, think, and feel about you that lead to you becoming a brand as more people get to know you. Your persona has to be unique. If it's not unique, then you're just like everybody else, and no one will be able to remember you. The next thing you have to do is provide consistent content in blogs, newsletters, social media, as well as in person and in print. You have to be consistent. And you need to keep track of people in a contact management system simply because there's too many for us to try to do it with memory alone. Last, and probably almost as important as everything else, is you need to automate the touches, to analyze the results of those touches and do it again, better. As a friend of mine says, how many touches it takes. and also being able to analyze exactly what's going on with the digital body language. So let's talk about automatic marketing. Let's look into a campaign or two. Today, I think for examples, we're going to look at consultants and cupcakes. For starters, what is a campaign? A campaign is a way to set up all the steps you need to get to a sale. Now, sometimes sales happen immediately. That's what I call transaction-based. Sometimes the process takes longer and requires more steps. That's relationship-based. It means you've developed a trust-based bond with the buyer. It's usually done over time. Generally, the more considered the purchase, the higher priced or longer lasting, the more people prefer a relationship basis. Generally. In a transaction, the prospect comes to your landing page and you ask them to make a decision. Their choices are yes or no. If they opt for no, they're gone. If they opt for yes, they give you the data that you request, and depending on how you've structured the campaign, move to a sales page and then your shopping cart to make a purchase. The relational situation takes more work, but can give you a higher yield per client and a greater value to you over the lifetime of the relationship. Usually you're fairly certain that the visitor to your lead capture page or website is not going to immediately make a buy. There are a lot of reasons why, but the single biggest one is they don't as yet have enough information. So the decision that they must make on your landing page is now or later. And later does not mean you're going to be a shoo-in to get that sale. It simply means that they're going to buy later from a trusted source. And they are willing to give you a chance to be that source. You will have to provide them with the information that it takes to make them come to the conclusion that your solution to their problem is the best value for them. Each time you provide them with information, you need to give them the option to buy or to take one step closer to making a purchase. That may mean offering a test drive or a guided tour or a confidential chat. In some cases, it could mean a free or low-cost sample, a brief membership, or a subscription. Those are offers intended to close the sale by providing a greater level of familiarity with your product or service. Most people see this process as only for business-to-business sales, but the basics can increase a retailer's income by quickly and easily generating more sales from the current customers while continuously adding to the customer database. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The question is, what is a campaign? A campaign, regardless of how you communicate it with folks, includes certain key elements. Before the age of analytics, the key elements were summarized by the 40-40-20 rule. 40% of campaigns were successful because the list was right. 40% were because the offer was right. And the final 20% of that equation was the creative, how the proposition was presented. But today, we know there is more to being successful. The list is still the single largest factor. The better you target, the better off you're going to be. The right target can increase yield by up to 600%. Now, of course, the offer is still incredibly important. The difference between the optimum offer and one that's just so-so is usually about 300%. Today, we have a much better understanding of sales cycles, and we know that timing is about 1/3 of the value of the list in successful campaigns. Knowing where your prospect is in the sales cycle is important. Do not overlook it. The final two elements are ease of response and creative. If you make it too hard for them to respond, they'll go elsewhere. If you don't offer the option they want to order, they won't. If you don't provide direct personal contact in some form for some products, they will not consider you a solution. That means that if you make it difficult to order and continually batter them with pop-ups and reasons not to leave your pages, they will buy less, if they buy at all. Those are choices you will have to make. My recommendation is to behave as if this campaign is to capture folks that you will come to be friends with. I know that works. I've done it for the last 40 years. So let's have a look at building a campaign. The list can come from anywhere. You can buy it. You can rent it. You can compile it from other sources. You can build your own by simply collecting business cards in a retail operation. You can partner with someone and use their list, usually for a percentage of the sales. You can advertise on and offline to drive people to your landing page. You can optimize your YouTube channel or link to others to bring viewers to your landing page. The list is still the single most important element in a campaign. Remember, the better targeted your list, the higher the conversion rate. The trigger message is what prompts people to come to your landing page. Remember that we said there are 5 elements to consider in a campaign. In addition to the list, they are offer, timing, ease of response, and creative. The offer is the deal. It's there for one thing, to generate a response. A really great one gets you a higher return through more leads or more traffic or more sales at lower cost. In my view, the top 5 offers are: number 1, the free trial. The customer gets to try your product or service for a period of time at no obligation. It literally removes the risk for the buyer and allows you to use the customer's inertia for your benefit. I'm yet to find a product or service that it doesn't work with. Number 2, the money-back guarantee. The customer pays, but if they're not happy, they can get their money back. This one removes the risk, also uses customer inertia to your benefit, and fewer than 2% of purchasers ever bother to return something. How about a free gift with purchase? That will outdraw a similarly priced discount or price reduction. The reason is that it is far more tangible to the buyer. Limited time or quantity. When you limit time or quantities, that will increase the response as it forces the customer to make a decision. The more quickly the customer feels the decision must be made, the more likely it will be in your favor. Involvement or interactivity. You ask the prospect to get involved by selecting from options presented singly or in sequence that help clarify the need for an immediate buying decision. I think the easiest way to understand this stuff is to look at actual campaigns. So let's start with the consultants. This is Carver and Klein. They're a bit of an odd couple. They're management consultants. I've changed the names and the photos here once again to protect the guilty. This is what he told me in an email. The value of a strong brand can be powerful and unexpected. We actually have a prospect who heard about us from his controller, went to the website and told her, "I've got to meet these guys." Happy surprise for us. We have an appointment next week at his business. Let me tell you a little bit more about these folks. When Jim decided to become a consultant rather than a serial turnaround specialist that was hired full-time by companies for the duration, well, the firm had a good reputation in a very small community of business owners and operators. Same way with Val. Val's a kind of roll up your sleeves and get it done on the job kind of person that knows how to find management that builds on what you've got and takes it to a higher level. Both did turnarounds from inside companies working on both process and leadership in the management team. Now they wanted to do it as consultants. They didn't have a brand, much less a website. Here's what their homepage looks like now. We started from the ground up. First, we developed a unique position. It was based on the comments of people that had worked with him and her within their target market and knew both of them, knew their strengths, and were frankly shocked by their pairing up. We called them the business transition odd couple. They were uncomfortable with that at first, but found that it truly made them stand out from the crowd. Now you couldn't pry them away from using it. We developed a value proposition. One quick statement of it is here in the headline. Even when you're in the middle of the handoff, your company performance can climb to record levels quickly and stay there. We made sure that their first connection with folks was totally non-threatening. We developed a unique persona, and I'll read you the script of that video momentarily. We put a testimonial on the home page because it's a great way to let people know what kind of work you're doing. And we made sure that we were very straightforward in terms of what they do. Let me give you that self-introduction video. Sorry I don't have the actual video. I'm going to have to read the copy. But You'll get the idea. Hi, I'm Val. She's Jim. Jim. Mama named me Jimson, and it got shortened to Jim. So you going to tell him about your name, or am I? Val. Later. Let's tell him what we do. Together. We're the business transition odd couple. Val. You know how every company has rough patches when they're expanding, or the job has gotten too big for a manager, or the time has come for the next generation to take over? Jim. What we do is work with you and your management team to get through the rough patches of growth or mergers or acquisitions. We can help you get ready to sell the company, whether it's to outsiders or the next generation. Val. We've been doing this together now for about 3 years, and each of us has 10 years of experience before that. We've done our time with publicly held Fortune 1000 companies and some name firms we can only talk about in private. Jim. Oddly enough, we prefer to work with small, privately held businesses. Val. Not quite so odd. We're good at it, whether it's retail, manufacturing, or services. Jim. Well, since you don't seem to want to tell them, I will. Val is short for Valentine. He was born in February, and the guy is all heart. Val. We won't mind if you confuse our names. Just remember the odd couple when your business is in transition. Call today or sign up for the double whammy so we can keep in touch. That self-intro is written using the 30-second marketing formula. In simplest terms, it is hook 'em, hold 'em, pitch 'em, and close 'em. Just like any good sales page video, this one provides the salient information for someone who is looking for a solution to their problem. The last lines. Just remember the odd couple when your business is in transition. Call today or sign up for the double whammy so we can keep in touch. Is a soft restatement of the problem hooked to their positioning or branding, followed by a classic call to action. That video, plus 2 testimonial videos, are what caused the prospect to say, I've got to meet these guys. What's next? Well, they're going to do a couple things. This is what their blog looks like. And they're also going to provide a monthly newsletter called The Odds. As we go further into the automagic marketing future, we're going to make sure that they are taking advantage of some of the trust tools that are available to them. Speaking, writing, teaching, which all of course increase familiarity and credibility and expertise knowledge so that people will come to them. This is the landing page that they will be having out there as the general landing page for all of those activities. So, at the head, your private preview of breakthrough techniques. If you're a business person, getting a private preview of things that might be breakthroughs is going to be kind of an interesting thing to you. But I like the subhead here too. You can change the way you do business and build your wealth. Wow. There's a couple of nice promises there. And by the way, that video is the same one I just read you the copy for. Now, get the double whammy. All you have to do is give them your name and your email, and you're in. So what happens if you do that? Well, the next thing you'll see is that you'll get a blog weekly, and you'll get the odds report monthly. Okay? Those will further select people so that they'll be led to family business landing pages or fast growth landing page or a profit crunch landing page. Those 3 areas we know are the 3 that have the highest need for their services. If you happen to be in one of those, each one of them will have the same kind of capability, but let's use customer oriented as the example. The list will be keyed to the customers. So in other words, all the people in that group that we're sending things out to is going to be a customer-oriented landing page that is just that particular customer, one of those 3 groups we talked about. We will develop articles and white papers for them as well, and we'll go only to them, followed by a webinar or webinars, but generally one is sufficient, that actually put Val and Jim right there in front of folks and give them a way to ask questions directly and have them all gather in one place at one time that's more convenient than having them come into a seminar or have to take time out of their busy days to get things done. Then of course we ask for the ability to do a sales presentation and meet with them at their business location. Does it work? You bet it does. One thing I thought I better make sure that you understood here was that webinars can be a very strong capability within this whole new business kind of structure. There are a couple things to look for when you're looking for a service to do that job. First, it's got to handle multiple platforms. It's got to work on Apples, it's got to work on PCs, it's got to work on tablets, it's got to work on phones, etc. Okay? It has to be capable of using the phone or voice over internet protocol, and it's got to have numbers that you can deal with. By numbers you can deal with, I mean two things. One, the price, okay? But even more importantly, how many people will it allow you to have this webinar discussion with? Most of them have a break point around 25. Some of them will allow you up to 10 at no cost, and up to 25 at a relatively low cost. And usually after 25, the next break point is somewhere in 100 or 200 level. So the pricing really depends on that, but also make sure that it's going to be enough that you can get to the number of people that you need to. Okay? You also need to have, in my view, a conversation capability so that you can actually talk back and forth with some of the people that are gathered for that webinar. Now, the larger the operation, the larger number of people you have in the room, the more difficult that becomes, and of course the price goes up. Ease of operation is incredibly important. You can't afford to put your mind on doing all kinds of technical things while you're having a conversation or presenting a webinar. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to roll through it, get it done, answer questions, chat with people comfortably, and not have to worry about the technology. It has to be easy to operate. Also important is you need a way to record it. Now, there are a number of different things you can do, but some of these operations actually have something built in so that you can record it and then use it later. Okay, re-show it, send it off to people, and so on. The last piece of advice I have for you with regard to webinars is don't just do the slides and not have a script. Write it through. Do the entire script. Know what you're going to say. Even if you don't read the script, make sure you have the key points available so that you can easily present this information. The problem is most people tend to ramble on webinars. The more concise you are, the better that webinar is going to be received. Okay? So practice, practice, practice. Okay, let's look at Automagic cupcake marketing. I know it sounds crazy, but you can use this stuff even in a retail operation. It's not all that difficult to do. For starters, here are the campaign components. Generally, in a retail situation like this, it's transactional. So you're going to have to build a list. You're going to have to send out a trigger message. You're going to send them to a landing page so they can take action. And then you're going to ask them to make a decision, and you're going to hope they're going to purchase. Okay? All the other things that normally apply, offers, timing, ease of response created, they're all there. Okay? But it's simplified a little bit. Here's the way it works. So you get yourself a fishbowl. You put it next to the cash register, and put a little sign on it that says, free cupcake on your birthday. All they have to do is put their business card in, and then you'll give them a free cupcake when they come in on their birthday. Not a hard thing to do. People will put their cards in that bowl. But one of the things we found out in our little cupcake shop was that there were a lot of ladies in particular from the neighborhood that would come in on a regular basis, but they didn't work for anyone. They didn't have business cards. So what we had to do was put out a simple little booklet so that they could sign in and give us their email and their name. It doubled the list within a couple of weeks after we did that. So, does a fishbowl help? Yes. If it's primarily a business operation, yes, it's going to help a lot. But if you have people that do not carry business cards, make sure you have a way that they can give you the information quickly and easily to get in on these fun things that you can do. Here's what the website and landing page look like. It's a combination, of course. Again, names and so on have been changed to protect the guilty. But curiously, cupcakes. We made sure the hours were in the banner as well as the phone number. Okay. We talked about other products that were available, party packs, so that you could get a pack of a party pack for your kid's birthday party. Great deal. What we found out was not only kids loved them, sometimes there were more adults in the room than kids. Here's that birthday bunch, okay? And what we did was we simply let everybody know who's going to have a birthday this week. Now that means that you have to update the website on a weekly basis, but that's okay. It's not a big thing because we were updating the flavors of the week on a weekly basis, and we kept trying to get more and more people to join us through signing up for our list. The other thing that happened was about once a month we would change this area in the bottom with a different kind of promotion. In this case, it was a bring a friend promotion that allowed your friend to get a cupcake and a cup of coffee for her birthday as well. Not a bad deal. So that's what their website and landing page looked like. But we had one other thing we sent out weekly as well, and that was the flavor notifier. We would send this out so that people could find out exactly what kinds of cupcakes were going to be served, what the specials of each day were. Now, I got to tell you about one of them here, the Strawberry Delight. If you've ever seen the movie When Harry Met Sally, you'll know what I mean by the phrase, I'll have what she's having. This particular cupcake tends to have the same reaction in terms of the oohs and ahs, etc. I've actually seen a lady look at someone and say, I'll have what she's having. The Strawberry Delight is an incredible cupcake. In any case, that's kind of the way you can do this sort of thing for a retail operation, even a little cupcake store. It's not that hard. What does it take to do big time marketing for the little guy? Well, what I did was I said, okay, what would I need to do? What would I need to have? What would it cost me to do this? And I put it together, and here's what I came out with. If you went to GoDaddy and you bought your URL there, and you actually bought one of their do-it-yourself websites, it would cost you $1.25 a month for the URL, $10 a month for the website. There is a marvelous cloud-based CRM system called Big Contacts, which is reasonably priced at $19 a month, and that would cover just about any small business I can think of. They have an integrated system for doing marketing automation called Active Campaign, which is another company, but the two work together literally hand in glove. And that's only about $9 a month. And then for doing your webinars, there's a thing called Fuse Meetings Pro. Now, that one's changed a couple times since I first put it on this list, and it's now at $20 a month, but you can do 25 people in the same meeting and have the ability to talk with, I believe, 10 or 12 of them with their streaming video from them as well. So you get a total here of under $60 a month. That's about $2 a day to have all of this capability. Does that mean you can do it immediately? No. It means it's going to take a little time to work it out and see what you need to do and build those pieces of information to build that content. But you can do this job, and you can do it for well under $100 a month, which is probably not a bad price in a small business. I'm Jerry Fletcher, and I run Z-Axis Marketing. I tell people that I'm a contact relationship magician because what I do is start where the software stops to make sure that you have what you need to do automagic marketing. You can reach me at zaxismarketing.com.